Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
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 Well, I'm gone. Can I kick it? To all the people who can quest like a tribe does. Before this, did you really know what I was? Comprehend to the track force, why? Cause getting mentions on the tip of the vibe buzz. Rock and roll to the beat of the funk fuzz. Wipe your feet really good on the rhythm rug. If you feel the urge to freak, do the jitterbug. Come and spread your arms if you really need a hug. Afrocentric living gives a big shrug. A life filled with, that's what I love. A lower plateau is what we're above. If you diss us, we won't even think of. We'll nipper the dog and give a big shove. This rhythm really fits like a snug glove. Like a box of positives, it's a plus love. As the tribe flies high like a dove.
Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
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 Well, I'm going.
Go on then.
Can I kick it? To my tribe that flows in layers. Right now, Fife is a point sayer. At times, I'm a studio conveyor. Mr. Dinkins, would you please be my mayor? You'll be doing us a really big favor. Boy, this track really has a lot of flavor. When it comes to rhythms, Quest is your savior. Follow us for the funky behavior. Make a note on the rhythm we gave you. Feel free, drop your pants, yank your hair. Do you like the garments that we wear? I instruct you to be the obeyer. A rhythm recipe that you'll savor. Doesn't matter if you're minor or major. Yes, the tribe of the game with a player. As you inhale like a breath of fresh air.
Generation, fast-paced nation, world population confront their frustration. The principles of true hip-hop have been forsaken. It's all contractual and about money making. Pretend to be cats, don't seem to know their limitation. Exact replication and false representation. You wanna be a man, then stand your own. To MC requires skills, I demand some shown. I let the frauds keep fronting and roam like a cellular phone far from home, giving crowds what they wantin'. Official hip-hop consumption, the fifth thumping, keeping your party jumping with an original something. Yo, I dedicate this to the one dimension now, no imagination, excuse for perpetration. My man came over and said, Joe, we thought we heard you. Jokes on you, you heard a bite and that's true, but never do. Love and hatred, the game is most ill-natured. It's nothing sacred. And yo, it's funny what I see some rap niggas do to make it. A few will blow up or go as far as they can take it. My 9 to 5 is just to hit you, get the party live. I'm Black Thought, used to rap for sport. Now the rhyme saying rent, paying life support. I take it very seriously. Within this industry, it's various crews that try to touch me, but I come with the beautiful things, and I bless the track plushly. Around the world, crowds love me from doing tours. Recipient of applause from all of you and yours. Creator of original sounds that's in the stores you take home to absorb and sweat it out your pores. Now who can stop the music running through these veins? Infinitely go against the grain. That's why my motto is to never do. Living the life of limos and lights, airplanes and trains, short days and long nights, keyboards and mics, bass chords and drum kicks. In my mental deck, they hit my head.
Yo, what's good, everybody in the chat? Why do I sound like I'm blowing out the speakers right now? What up? We got a dope show for y'all at home. We have a dope interview with the folks from Bit Reactor. Excuse me. So those are folks who are old XCOM heads and stuff over who made some of those games. So we have a really dope interview with them. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the This Is Xbox stuff and a couple of other conversations really quickly for today. So thank you for rocking this Sunday and hanging out. Hope you're feeling better, Panda. Shout out to Arctic, who's on his way to go chill with some fam. And we got some dope stuff tonight. So come and hang out.
Spawnable is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Chicago, y'all.
Yo, what up, everybody in Chicago? This is the Spawnable podcast with Khalif Adams. I am your host, Khalif Adams. Hope you are doing well. Hope you are having a fantastic week. Hope you're having a lovely time wherever you may reside on the planet. Hope you're having a good time and a good space to talk to so many dope folks about the things you love and about the things that you are rocking with. I have been sick as a dog this week. It has been crappy. I have not been happy about that. It has not felt good. It has not been wonderful. It has been stupid, and I hated it. But it's not bad. It's one of those things of, again, you know, you can figure out all the ways to get better and, you know, take your eucalyptus leaves and drink your teas, drink your Buckleys, all the stuff that you need to feel better because it is cold season and folks are worried about all that good stuff. For the folks who are watching here on twitch.tv and youtube.com/spawnonme, hanging out with us today. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this weekend. Shout out to Arctic in the chat. Shout out to the Panda. Hope he feels well, feeling better. I moved the MK mat over so it fits in the frame. It's funny, when I was setting up the show today, you were the person I thought about, actually. I was thinking about you, and I was like, I gotta get the thing set up right, so that the MK mat is in the frame. Again, trying to figure out all the ways to get the setup working properly and looking real cute and looking real dope. Trying to figure out where to put things and make sure everything looks good. Shout out to all of our Spotify listeners as well. We got our Spotify Wrapped this year, and there was some really great tidbits of information in there. If you are paying attention to our show and someone who is a fan of Spawn on Me, if you listen to the show, we got some really dope stats in there. I know people have been like, they've been fudging stats. The stats have been not accurate. I'm taking whatever the hell they said as gospel. I'm fine with it. Supposedly, from all the work that we're doing, we are in the top 10 of video podcasts on Spotify. We had almost 20% growth in terms of new listeners on Spotify. So Spotify has been a really big boon for us in a big way. So it's been really dope to be able to see all those things happen for real. We want to continue to have that be where we are while we're trying to get our YouTube game together and all the social media stuff together, because it's a hard thing to figure out. So trying to figure out all of those things at once. Also, shout out to Jeremy Barber in the chat, who's watching over on YouTube, who is one of the most beautiful human beings on the planet. A lot of the technical stuff that you see in Chicago is because of Jeremy's help. So always want to give him some love and give him some props for always being with us and helping us rock and get some dope things together. So it's always nice to be able to have that be a part of the equation for real. So always massive love to him for all the work that he does as the technical advisor to Chicago in so many different ways. A thing that I got a chance to see earlier when at the Game Awards last week. Again, shout out to everybody who listened to the episode about the Game Awards when I was on location in LA. I got to see and hang out finally with the voice of Chicago, Eli Harris. I finally got a chance to see him for the first time in real life, and that was great. It was dope to be able to see him finally. We had talked over the years, over the phone and remotely, and done so much work on Spawnies and Spawn on Me, and him being the voice of Chicago. And it was really good to see him in real life and finally get a chance to meet. So massive shout out to Eli. We have to catch up this week. I owe him a phone call to get into the space. As you can hear, I still have my cold. I'm trying to work through it, so bear with me on that. But for this episode, please make sure you check out the show. Make sure you share it. Please put it across all of your social media channels. We're still looking to figure out good ways to build on all of this and make this as big as we possibly can. Shout out to the first page in the chat says, my dishwasher is also an Xbox. This podcast is also an Xbox. We're going to talk about This Is Xbox. And I'm going to talk about it in a way that I want to dig into the thing that is bugging me about that conversation. But we have a couple things to get to first. First, we have a really fantastic interview with the team from BitReactor, who are working on a well-known IP that we're not going to talk about because they can't talk about it yet. But if you're a fan of XCOM, you're a fan of those kinds of games, those folks who are over at BitReactor are some of the founders and some of the biggest names who used to work on those franchises. And they were a part of our show this week. So we had an interview with them a couple weeks ago. I never got a chance to publish it. I've been meaning to publish it and hadn't had a chance to do so. So going to do that this week and publish that and get that into this episode. So excited for that for sure. Shout out to Xbox Expansion Pass. Go check out their show. They do a fantastic podcast as well. So we're going to do the BitReactor interview. Then we're going to come back from that. We're going to take a small break, and then we're going to talk about the This Is Xbox campaign and how people are freaking out about what Satya Nadella said. We're going to talk a little bit about the Mark Cerny PS5 technical talk that he did the other day. And then to round out the show, I'm going to talk a little bit about my time with Crimson Desert that I got a chance to check out also while I was at the Game Awards a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to share some gameplay and talk about my experiences with the game because it is very, very cool. So first up, let's roll into our interview with our friends from BitReactor. We're going to talk to them. And then right after that, we're going to head into a break and we'll be right back after this. with two of the gents who are making Bit Reactor one of the most sought after folks in terms of the game space, and looking to see all the wonderful titles that are going to be coming out of their studio. Greg Forch, CEO and co-founder of Bit Reactor, and Hector Antunes, who's an animation director at the studio. Greg and Hector, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here on Spawn On Me.
Can't wait, man. We're excited.
Yeah, great to be here.
I'm hyped.
Big fans of your work too. Big fans of your work too.
Oh, are you serious? Don't you blow smoke? No blowing smoke, because I seriously appreciate that a ton. That means a lot. I'm excited to talk to y'all for a bunch of reasons. One, because I am a big strategy fan, and I have been learning a lot about the genre over the years. And Bit Reactor is putting, a really great game into the world very soon, hopefully. But also, I want to talk to you all about, what it's been like to start this new studio, and to really have, the pedigree that you both have with the work that you've done over the years with XCOM and Civ, and a game I'm going to talk to you about, Hector, in a little bit that is very near and dear to my heart. But talk to me, Greg, about the journey of building this team and starting this studio in Bit Reactor.
It's been a crazy journey. I mean, it's like you get to a point where you've made a lot of games, you've done a lot of stuff. At a certain point in your career, I think sometimes it becomes a lot less about what the game is you're making and more about the people you're building it with. And so, in kind of building Bit Reactor, that's been the biggest part, is like who am I making this game with, right? Like, we're making a game with a giant IP and a great publisher, but like, it's really easy to get lost in that. But I think, and it kind of can overwhelm you a little bit, but when at the end of the day, I'm building a company that's building a great game, if I don't think about building the company and the people building the company, the game isn't going to be good. And if I only think about building the game, the studio is not going to be good. And so at the end of the day, we're building a studio that's building a great product, and hopefully going to build a great second, third, fourth, fifth product. But again, I think if you lose sight of it and just think about the one game you're making right now, you kind of lose sight of the real goal, and kind of like the group of people you're putting together and surrounding the people I'm surrounding myself with, and the level of trust I have in them, and just like, not only just amazing developers, but good humans on top of it. And so to make sure that the culture is healthy for what we want to build longer term, and not just this one game that we're working on now.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, because I think a lot of there's a bunch of different conversations in the industry right now around sustainability of studios and figuring out good ways to make sure that the teams that we're building are, not only, have a pedigree of working in the space and doing really good work in those areas, but also it's been nice to hear that teams have been looking outside of the traditional spaces to really bring in, a multitude of disciplines across their games and across the titles that they're trying to build. Hector, you've been working on the animation side for God knows how long now at this point. I was doing a little research and saw this really great interview you did in 2019. And you were talking about the mentorship layers of what you'd put together and been a part of. And, talk to me a little bit about, now you being animation director and being, a lead in that way, of what it's been like for you to also now come into a space with, like-minded individuals who you've worked with before, and seeing how that transition's happened, but also helping to kind of pull up some of the younger devs in that space as well, with the work that you do.
Yeah, I think that it's been awesome so far, and like plus one to everything that Greg said, that's like why I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited to build something awesome with great people and at a great place, and somewhere where we can do this for a long time. Yeah. But like my first lead role was on Civ, and that's when I got my first taste of like what it really meant to like lead a team. And over the course of that project, it's like when I kind of I kind of had to do this, but also like I think it was going to happen anyway, of just like recalibrating like what my own success would mean. Yeah. Where it was just like, oh, it doesn't matter as much if I'm doing a cool thing if like the team's not doing a cool thing. And by the end of that game, and I'm damn proud of that game, like what that animation team put together, that's where I was like, oh, this is the best part of this job. It's like having been a part of setting them up for their successes. Because a lot of the work that I had my hands in, by the time that game was done, it's like all diffused out, you know? And so like I joke, like I don't have like a great reel for like my work on that game, but like tons of the animators do, right? And I was like, that's it. That's what I like. That's what I want to keep building. And yeah, for sure, not just focusing on real top heavy teams either, like making sure we have a healthy mix of like folks that have made games for a long time, folks that are new to games, people that are from other like industries, not just having made games, and sort of like getting a blend of what all those different experiences can bring to a project. It's been awesome. That's like what we've done so far, and want to keep doing it for a long time.
That's right.
And I think what Hector did in that space too, like with his animation team in particular, was just we're hiring great developers, great animators, and making sure the people that we get have the talent and the vision and the fit that we want. Deliberate choice out of the gate. I mean, Hector had a vision. I can say this, like, how do you want to staff your team, Hector? And he knew, right? And it mirrors a lot of what we're doing with the studio too. Like we have, 20 plus people that have a particular strategy pedigree. And we have about 65 that don't. And like, that wasn't an accident. That was actually part of the recipe. Like we wanted to bring in people that are going to challenge thoughts, make us think a little differently, especially, when you're leading or kind of at the tip of the spear for development, whether it's animation or creative direction, whatever it is, challenge those thoughts, but also have enough institutional knowledge to really avoid like falling into potholes. And so like that was a very conscious decision, not only in the animation department that Hector's built, which is a perfect example of it, but across the whole studio, it kind of that permeates that idea. And just, getting developers, guys that and girls who want to just build games and happen to be animators on top of it, or happen to be a graphics programmer or even the IT guy. I think that's really been the perspective. And I think it really, it started with Hector's animation department in a lot of ways. And it just kind of continued to grow through the studio.
And it feels like, when, doing some research about the studio and looking more into, what the kind of foundation of Bit Reactor has been, it feels like you talked about, this is a very, ingrained layer of the philosophy of why the studio was here, right? Talk to me a little bit about, again, you've had 20 plus years at Firaxis and doing a lot of the work there and seeing so many pieces, and Hector, the work you've done as well. When you're coming together to really start that process and say, all right, we're going to jump ship and we're going to do something like this, and, how scary that may be. And, I want to talk a little bit about the, right after this, what's the conversations that you've had prior to starting the studio. But I think, what has it been like to build those pillars into the studio's ethos? To be able to say to a young developer or even a veteran developer, this is the reason why you should be here.
Man, that's a great question. It's funny because kind of like what you're getting at is, a little bit of like, yeah, when we're pitching to folks, when we're recruiting, right? Like, why would you want to be here? And I don't feel like we've ever said like, this is who I am and this is what I've done, and you should want to come work with me. Like we've never done that, So it's like we have that experience, and I think like maybe like I'm proud to say that I feel like that work stands for itself, and so like we're kind of like way past that by the time we're trying to reason like why being here or just leaning on that doesn't. It's not a thing we do necessarily. Nor do we try to say to people like, hey, like you have any idea like who I am, like let's that's definitely not the vibe, and it's not like from the jump. I think a lot of what it's been like to build here from the beginning has been like being kind, listening to folks, like
valuing ideas. Like I mean, that's the biggest part is like again it rarely ever very few conversations involve they're always we. We've laid down some foundational pieces for the culture of the studio, and as we add people, they're another piece in that part, in that whole, that kind of adds to it in one way or another, and is trying to get some more, trying to keep like-minded things that are very important value-wise. But I think we really, we value the ideas and want primarily people, excuse me, that are going to give us, contribute to the idea pool, right? And that we, making sure that as we add people, that they understand their role in the greater part of the company, which is like, again, everybody has a level playing field when it comes to like good ideas.
Yeah.
They're not gated by your job title or your role in a project. Great ideas come from everywhere. I joke a lot, like with my job on the creative side, is I don't have all the good ideas. I curate them. And I would say, like, with your job, you don't make all the great animations now. You curate all the animations, right? And I think that's probably I think that's a healthy way to look at it. It's the group and the group effort. We're stronger together than we are individually. And that's really the message I think that we kind of walk around with here in the studio.
Yeah. And,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep going, Hector.
Oh, just real quick, like, to talk about like what it meant to start here too. It was kind of a thing where, like from project to project, that every project had like a slightly different start than the other ones. But, where Greg and I spent most of our careers, like there was, there was infrastructure there was like tech that we were building on top of. Sometimes there were expectations, there were all these things, right? And I feel like, when you finish a game and you talk about like, what are we going to do next, or how's that going to go? Like it's always really tough to be like, let's truly start from nothing and see what that's going to be like. It just doesn't work that way, right? So when we started this, it really was like, okay, we are starting from nothing. Like what now? Like, this is exciting. We can actually, not have to worry about following some kind of precedent. We can like make some of the decisions that were really difficult to make in the context of other projects that we've been a part of. Not that they were right or wrong things, but it's just like truly starting from scratch and being like, okay, like, let's put our money where our mouth is then, right? Like, I could come to Greg and be like, I want to do like this thing. And there wouldn't be any like resistance, very, very little reason not to engage with trying something new. And so again, leveraging experience, but then also being like, I would not have gotten a chance to try this on this project, but I can on this one, or I can here because we're, and also understanding that what we're building, fast forward now like 10 years and being like, talking to us now, being like, hey, that stuff you guys did became ingrained. Make sure you're making some good choices now because we've been through and seen like what the impact of like, oh, that's the tool you guys chose to use for that thing. Like, remember how you can get stuck on that for a while? Like, make better choices next time. So getting a chance to do all that definitely was a big part of the fun. Like, that first year here, everything was a first, right? Like, it's pretty cool.
I mean, we individually and collectively, we've made a lot of great games, right? Like multiple genres in the studio, but BitReactor's made nothing yet.
Correct.
And I think realizing like we haven't done anything yet is kind of our attitude here. And realizing, I think that the moment where it kind of hit me that like, wait a minute, we don't have to do it the way everybody else does it. Like we can chart our own course on this, like, how we decide to interact with people, like how we communicate. It's ours. We can own it, and we don't have to follow any other DNA because there is none yet. Yeah. And so we're like I said, we're laying that foundation, every day.
That must be.
And we will get everything right. Yeah, it is. That's what I was about to say. I was gonna say, like, I'm not saying that we're gonna get everything right.
Yeah.
But it is very freeing. That is exactly the word. I remember, like, I was just talking with somebody about this last week. I remember what it was like those first few days, how ridiculously freeing it was to just be like, oh, for a moment, I don't have a team yet. There's only like half a dozen of us, big company meetings were just a few people. And it was very freeing. It really does free up a lot of I didn't realize how much I was thinking about all the stuff that was a part of at my previous job, and just being like, oh, I can just focus on like one thing for a while, and I think that type of a reset, I think, was personally, I think I was like overdue for some type of break like that, but also I found it like to be like really valuable for like not feeling like there was, a ton of pressure to answer everything all at once. It was like, oh, we can take a measured approach to how we're going to build a studio, how we're going to hire, like how we're going to decide what this game is going to be, like all that stuff. It was like, oh, we can actually just like talk about it. Oh man, this is great.
See, that's the stuff I love to hear, because I'd like to nerd out about studio culture in those weird ways, because I'm on a project now that's with a very new studio. And, having worked at a couple of, more established ones in previous jobs, everyone to a man who has talked about what it's like to go from a really big studio or an established one to a new one, they say that exact same thing of being able to say, we get to chart our own course, we get to figure out the direction that we want, and we get to build something together with like-minded folks who are really trying to build towards this really awesome title or project or one of those things. Greg, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about, what's the process feel like when you have decided to make that big move? And I mean, what I mean by that is, I think players, and I will say this, honestly, I think players don't have a really good understanding of how the minutia of the business works, right? There's a part of it where, conversations, for years have been, truncated and you don't really get a chance to have those one-on-one moments like these with the folks who are building the thing in real time. So a lot of misconceptions wind up happening about that stuff. And I think a lot of folks think it's easy to kind of just spin up a studio. And they have this idea of like, oh, well, you all just take all your people from here and just go over there and go make your new thing. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts about what was some of the conversations that you had with folks who are around, you've worked with, or folks who have spun up their own companies. You're in Maryland, and there's some amazing studios there, with a lot of folks who I'm sure were potentially able to kind of share some information or at least advice on what that process looks like. What was that like for you to kind of get information from other folks of the way you wanted to do it the right way? Or the way you're doing it now?
I think looking at like what motivates you, like what is the thing that you want to do, like, I think, what's the scale you want to work at? What's the, do you want to do a little indie thing? Do you want to do something larger? Like we're 100% independent, but we are not like a garage studio, which is very, very different from a lot of the other startups. I think everybody else wants to own their IP. That's not something I want to do right now from a business perspective. It felt like looking at other people that was just too much, too far. Like, we want to own the market share. We want people to know who we are. They want to know the games we're making. And part of that trade is like, okay, I'm willing to trade for that with using an IP that exists. Right. And kind of being able to look at what would be too much of a bite that, it's hard enough doing what we're doing. Adding another layer of like, nobody's going to know about my game or care about it because they don't know what it is, seemed like a bit too much. And so that was something that, like, in looking at the process of what I wanted to do, like that felt pretty far from me. And so, just trying to look at that and think about what is it you want to make? Like, what's the mark you want to make? And in looking at what we want to do as a studio, and I think this also lends like the people we've hired, we want to make something amazing that leaves a mark, but like, I'm not interested in remaking anything I made before. Like my goal is to erase the things I've made before. And I think that's a slightly different perspective than others necessarily when they start a studio. Like, I'm looking to move beyond it. And so, I think everybody that's in the building kind of feels, a similar kind of drive to kind of work in that direction as opposed to the kind of looking backwards.
I think if you ever were to get a Tupac tattoo on your belly, that should be what you had. on your Tupac tattoo. I want to move past the things that I've made before. That's a dope line. I'm sorry. That's a really fantastic philosophy. I think a lot of folks get stuck in I had success at this thing and I need to replicate that success specifically in that same way. And it's cool to hear you all thinking about it that way of like, no, we've done really cool things and we can do even cooler things. That's fantastic to hear. I love that.
Greg's a painter. And I feel like this comes from some of this of being like, I just made a painting.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it. I'm going to put it down and I want to make a better painting.
Yeah.
I don't just want to, I figured out how to paint. Like, I'll just make more of that. It's like, nope, okay, that one was good, great. The next one, like, has to be better. I feel like that's the mentality going all the way back to, like, when I first started working with you, where it was just like, hey, it's not that things aren't good enough, it's that, like, they can always be better.
Yeah.
So, like, just, like, keep striving for that, right? Like, that, it's like a growth mentality.
Yeah.
I feel like the favorite people that I've spent time with in my career are folks that like aren't complacent and not in like a toxic way, but just like in like I just want to get better. Okay, I got really good at this thing. That was great. I want to get good at this thing now. And like find and work people that want to work like that. And it's like it's always exciting. Everything stays fresh and like we're always kind of pushing each other, which is awesome. And it's I don't know. That's the way to do this, man.
Yeah, we can be boys in real life. I love that. It's like all of us have that same like drive to figure out what that next thing is. But I feel like, and I'm happy you both kind of touched on that because I feel like we're seeing a resurgence in the genre, in the in the strategy genre, and it feels like y'all are like really perfectly positioned to kind of really tackle that space in this way. It feels like the work that you all have done and now having getting a chance to work on something super fun in this way. Talk to me a little bit about like how you're all positioned to really kind of help move the genre forward in this way.
Oh man, it's got so much room to go. It is the only genre that's got that much space, right? Like it is just waiting for somebody to care to take it another step, right? Yeah. Like, and not care, that's not the right word, but like somebody to kind of like have a vision for where it could be, and really drive it and really push it. Like, look, we make turn-based strategy games. Like, the idea that people have to suffer with bad graphics and poor performance and a lack of immersion and bad stories. What are they talking about? Like, we don't have latency issues. We should look better than every game out there. We pause the game whenever we want. We should have better stories than anybody out there. That makes no sense to me. Like, we need to challenge that space. We need to make our games immersive, show people how engaging it can be, and pull them along into the ride. And it's getting people to like just give it a chance and take a look at it and see. But it's also embracing those moments and looking for those opportunities in the game design to find those moments to pull people in and make it immersive. That enhances the game and enhances how the player feels. And again, I think, these kinds of games are uniquely positioned to leverage that. And they just haven't, there's another step. There's another step coming. The games we've made before, XCOM, like it scratched the surface. There is a whole nother world coming. And I think we know what it is. Like, I think we're on the verge of it. Like, I think we know what it looks like. And, that's what we're excited about, kind of like exploring and developing and continuing to drive forward, whether it's this game or the next game, and making sure that we're, running a race with ourselves on that one.
Yeah.
And, like, the crazy thing is, like, since, 2012? Like, since we shipped that game, there have been, like, so many games like it in the genre, and some amazing ones.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, a bunch of us are huge fans of the type of games we're making, and like we've played a bunch of them, and it bums me out that more people aren't playing them because like people have taken a lot of the stuff that works in these games and run with it, and it's like it hasn't broken out yet, right? Like we saw what that was like back then when Enemy Unknown came out. Like I would consider that like that broke out. The genre opened up again, and people were talking about like, wait, what are these games? And it's like, well, some of them have been around, but they were, not sort of like, I don't know what you want to call it, mainstream, becoming a hit, whatever it is. But we broke through something then, and there for all the like awesome games that have come out since then, it's like we're due, right? And
yeah.
And it's like, and I get frustrated because I'm like, why aren't more people playing these games? Because I hear people being like, oh, I don't play that. Like, I don't play that game because, like, I'm not very good at shooters. Maybe like whether it's a controller or a mouse and keyboard, like that's me. I get frustrated because like I just don't have the dexterity for it. It's not the type of games I grew up playing, and I always just feel like I'm behind. And it's like, okay, so even if that game's a big hit, there's like a ceiling there for me. And then, whether it's like I want to play something with more of a story or any other sort of stuff, like these are the games I keep going back to. And I'm like, I bet if more people gave these games a real shot, they would be surprised at how many of the complaints they might have for other genres. Mm-hmm. Like, you may still have some things that you don't love about what we're doing, but that you'd be like, oh, like I don't play games because X, and it's like, oh well, but this game doesn't make that requirement of me. And I can just like take my time and enjoy what's going on and be challenged. Like, like there's a huge component of this that is like, rewarding players for making like smart decisions, right? Like these games are really good at making you feel clever because you have to be clever to progress. That doesn't have to be like boring or feel like homework. And I feel like we're still having to deal with a reputation that's like long gone.
Yeah,
like it's like, oh, I don't play those games because this. And it's like, well, have you played like this one? Have you played this one? Have you played that one? What about this? And it's like, sometimes people are like, oh, I haven't even heard of those games. And I'm like, how? So, like, I'm hoping that,
I love when people are like, I don't like turn-based games, and then they talk to you about Baldur's Gate.
Right.
Like, okay.
Right.
Cause that's the other thing happening, right? Like a lot of games are mixing genres.
Yeah.
And grabbing elements that are going to be appropriate for their games. And it's like, yeah, that's like a great example. That game was amazing, but people don't necessarily, you don't need to go attaching these labels, right? I like, just like full circle. Like, yes, our background's in strategy and our games will have strategy elements, but like, I want people to know what's for making great games, period.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we're going to rush to go make like shooters and action. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, like, just talk about it. Like, this is a great game, right? Like, when people say they're fans of movies, like they usually love all kinds of genres. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I just love film, all kinds of films. And so it's like, if you love all kinds of games, you love great games, I want us to be in that conversation, right? Like, hey, that studio makes great games. Oh, I heard they just make strategy games. No, they make great games. You need to check them out. You need to play those games. Yeah. Right? Like, that's where I would love to get to.
It feels like there's a space, too, where, I think I agree with you a ton. Like, I think there's a feeling around the strategy genre that it's like it's a space that is, a hard hurdle for some people to get over, right? They just don't have that affinity with it. Or it does have a space that feels like, oh, well, this is for the PC player, right? Like, oh, this feels like this is a mouse and keyboard kind of genre, as opposed to one where I can have that kind of lean back experience with a controller, which I played a bunch of XCOM games on my consoles because that was the best place for me to play it. It gave me the most space to see it. And to be fair, speaking even more directly to the work that you do, Hector, like, you get to see all the goodies of the fidelity and animations on a big screen that you're sitting in front of and getting a chance to see all that happen. It could just be one of those things like you need that really, a well-known content creator to really who understands the genre and can talk to it and kind of build in that space, and maybe that helps to proliferate the conversation a little bit further. But does it feel like you hinted at a little bit, does it feel like there are some trends in the space now that are really coming together at a perfect time for the games that you're thinking about making? Or does it feel like with that resurgence of strategy games kind of happening, that you're seeing something in the ether that is really kind of speaking to you and like, ooh, here's the thing that's coming around the corner that's kind of just getting here that we can really leverage and really bring to an audience to really have exciting titles for?
I hope so, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that the easy answer to that is like more people are playing games every day, right? So that there's also like room for just like, hey, if you're like new to games, or maybe like you started out playing more casual games and you're sort of like graduating and starting to dip your toes into like more console games, more PC games, like what are you latching on to there? And so there's just the pure numbers of it that like as more people play games, that there's just room for them to sort of latch on to hopefully not just the same genre time and time again, right? And it is it's a weird time too, because there's a lot of the really, really, really big games end up having to kind of like not repeat is like the wrong word, but like for lack of a better term, like they tend to be like a little bit safer.
Sure.
Like when you see somebody actually take some risks and say like, we're gonna boldly make the game we want to make, that's how you get to a Baldur's Gate.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that like found an audience. And if you really sat down and talked to people about some of the elements and a lot of the games that have become like the surprise hits the past few years, like they're taking some risks. They're like pushing out of like some of the conventions in their own genres and stuff. And so I think players are hungry for like, fresher takes on familiar things, telling better and better stories. I would argue that has been a big thing, like the whole time I've been making games. Like how seriously even I will take a story when I sit down to play, being like, oh, well, it's games, so like the story will just be okay. Like compare that to some of the games the past few years, and it's just like, so this is some of the best stories in any medium right now, so there's all that too, right? Like those of us in the industry are getting better at making games. There's more people playing games, like, console makers and all those folks are busy trying to get people playing more games and more things. So yeah, it's like I think it's an exciting time. Like,
and I think the going back to what we talked about earlier in the conversation, that pulling in of folks from different disciplines and different walks of life and different avenues of entertainment into a studio like this just affords the ability to tell those broader stories and those broader kinds of stories and those broader kinds of moments that you can have within in a game and in a genre. Does it feel like right now, I've been saying that it feels like there's a big resurgence here. Does it feel like the folks that you've been talking to about not only the future of the studio, but the space that you occupy, that players are really, really excited for what you have coming to the table? I know we can't talk about it specifically, but I know folks have been excited about the buzz around it. Are you hearing good news from the audience in those ways too?
I think so. I think people are looking for something new. And it's funny, like the playing it safe part, like the bigger the IP, the bigger studio, the expectations, it really, from understanding the business aspect of it from the project side, it does clamp down on you. Like you can't explore because you don't want to violate the expectation. The nice thing about us is like, there is no expectation yet. Like we're going to set that. So we've got like that kind of, we do have that room, like Hector was saying earlier, just like that freeing area of like, we can do whatever we want. We're not kind of like, shackled by anything we've done previously in that sense, that might roll backwards. So we're able to do whatever we want in that space. So I think that's a really good part of it.
Yeah. And we are hoping that fans of the type of games that we've made in the past will like come along for this ride with us. But then like I really hope we're able to reach more people too. Right? Like there's like the business side of that answer, but there's also just like I just want more people playing the games I get to be a part of and have fun with them, right? Like that's like the best part of all this. Yeah. When even when we're sitting around and we're doing our own play tests and you see somebody get excited about something that just happened, like that's like why we make games. Like yeah, it's our livelihood, but like that's the big part of it. It's like like hopefully people are having fun playing these games, right? And so the more people that play the game and are having fun, the better. Like that's all it is, right? It's a game. It's a game,
Right,
Khalid.
right. I mean, what are we talking about here? Games? Talking about games, man. No, but I feel you on that. Like, I think that's the thing that has gotten me the most excited about working in this industry is knowing that every person who jumps in their machine and starts to do their work is trying to bring joy to other people. Like that is the foundation of the gaming industry. It's the foundation of the work that we all get a chance to do. Is at some point, somewhere in the universe, someone's having fun, and we were a part of that experience. So that's beautiful to be able to know that you're working with that and working towards that every day. That's cool. Yeah,
and it always sounds like transactional when we talk about it, because not just here, but like even on past projects, every once in a while the conversation perks up of like we gotta find the fun. Like it's like a thing. Like remember, it's gotta be fun. It's not good enough that we got like, oh, we got levels in, we got characters in, like the game's complete, and it's like, but is it like any fun? And it's like, oh no, we're still working on that part. And it's like it needs to be fun. And man, it is amazing when you get to that point where you're like, oh good, it's fun. Okay. For folks that don't make games, that is the hardest part of all this.
Yeah.
Like you don't wake up one morning and all of a sudden you just have a fun game and it's like, oh, just like art it up and we'll be good to go. No. It takes time and effort and dedication, and there is like no magical answer for this. Like it literally can happen overnight.
The thing is, the game is a living thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it fights back. Like it throws punches.
It's
right?
Wednesday. I don't feel like being fun today.
Like I've never made a game that was like easy. Just like you don't make a painting that's easy. At some point, it pushes back on you, and so like every time when you're making a game, it'll have its own thoughts about what's fun. Like, this is terrible, and it'll fight with you a little bit. And I think that's kind of the challenge and the joy of making games is like that it's always different. Every game I've worked on has its own story in my head of how it was developed, both highs and lows. And so like nobody ever makes games. When it comes to work making games, like I'm just here today. Like that's really not a developer thing. Like everybody comes into work wanting to make something special, which is I also think is really unique about this industry. Like everybody that on every team I work with, there's never anybody that's kind of like, it's just a job. Like it's development isn't like that. And so, it's an awesome thing.
Well, I hope players really understand that. I mean, I had my come to Jesus moment when I went to my first GDC, and remember just like hearing conversations in the hallway and then going to a panel and feeling amazingly stupid because I was like, I don't know what the hell you just said. I have no idea what that was. As my player brain and being like, I don't know what you just said and don't understand it, but I know you've made something that I think is really cool. It just, circles back to that idea and that understanding of like every developer that I know, they want to build something dope for players. They're trying to make something really awesome for the people who are at home who are gonna consume it. Greg, Hector, I got to thank y'all for spending some time with me today. You two are a blast. I'm pulling for y'all. The games that you have made over the years, you had made me feel like a champion when I was at the bottom of the pole trying to get across a map and trying to figure out a thing and getting that one last movement with that one last turn to be able to get on to the next part of the game. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of forethought to make games like this. And I'm happy that you gents are part of that lineage and a part of that work. It really does speak to the work that you all have done and the continued efforts and the continued success that you have. And I'm hoping that y'all blow it out of the water with this one because I'm very, very excited for it and very, very hyped for it. And Hector, you got a chance to, work on a game that I loved many, many years ago. I believe in Black College football experience with that team. So that game holds a very special place in my heart because there was no one who was even doing that work back in the day. So
it's wild. Yeah. Very exciting. I wish for another day. I believed a lot I believed a lot in what, and it was, you know, I was a kid in college in Baton Rouge, and it's like, hey, there's a studio down the street. Okay, I want to be an animator. Let's see if they'll hire me. And a bunch of us that were there, it's kind of like amazing what they were trying to do. The game we were trying to make, got to meet some like really cool people while working on that. You know, there's some alternate universe where a lot of us like just come at that with like even more kind of experience, and that was a hell of a thing to be like, we're gonna make a football game. I remember us being like, but like Madden's out there and NCAA. It's like, yeah, but they're not doing this, and I'll be like, you are right, but this is quite a mountain to try to climb. You know?
But I think it's one of those.
Game shipped, man.
Yeah,
making games is hard. That game did ship.
It shipped, and I think, and to be fair, like it had a cult following I remember, you know, we got to meet folks that played it, and it meant an awful lot to them. You know, it was a game for the culture. I'll say it in that way for sure, and it did resonate with folks in my community especially. So thank y'all.
Where else are you gonna get that halftime show, man?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. People don't understand. That was dope. People don't have an understanding of what that was.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Greg, Hector, thank you so much for being on the show today. Again, hyped to hear. And again, please come back on when you can talk more about the project. I want you to come back on.
We'll be back.
These seats are yours, brothers. These seats are yours.
We'll show you some fun stuff. Like,
I'm down. I'm expecting that 2-pack tattoo next time I see you. Right on the belly. You get half, I get half. We'll just have we'll have both halves on ready to rock and roll. Gents, thank you so much for being here. Everybody at home in Chicago, we have more Spawn on Me coming with you right after this. Yo, what a fantastic interview with Greg and Hector. That was so much fun to do. They were super good sports. They got up real early for that conversation and in that discussion. And it's just so nice to be able to have like people talk about the process, not only of building games, but talk about their history in making games and the ways that they had been doing that work. Always so great to be able to have great folks come on the show and talk about the work that they do. And massive shout out to the team from Bit Reactor. We got to make sure that we get them back on when they can talk more about the game that they're making. You can look up kind of what they had been talking about and what they at least announced initially when they started the studio. So you'll have more of information, kind of background about like what that means. But hopefully we'll be able to talk about the very specific thing that they're doing very, very soon. So we're going to take a quick break, run a couple of quick ads here on the channel, and we're going to come back with some news of the week with the 411 very, very soon. But for now, check out our lovely folks from NZXT. Hey everybody, Khalif here from the Spawn on Me podcast. Hey, we have been in the market for new PCs for a long time, and for our 10th year anniversary, the wonderful folks from NZXT have partnered with us in a collab to be our hardware sponsors. So if you are looking for a new PC to stream or to game in the best way possible, go check out nzxt.co/spawnonmebld, and you'll be able to find a perfect PC for you, whether that be the Player 1 machine, Player 2 machine, or Player 3 machine. The ones that we're rocking for our new studio build. They have everything you possibly could need for the best PC experience on the planet. Remember to go check out nzxt.co/spawnonmebld, and they will get you set up right. Much love and peace.
Hey there, my name is Naomi, and you might know me from internet things like hosting for IGN. I'd like to introduce you to my new show, This Week in Gaming. It's 20 minutes, short and sweet, and every week I go through all the important gaming news that you need to know, and then we have folks on like Khalif Adams, who shows up quite often, talk about all the important news. And you get to listen to it wherever you get your podcast, so it's easy to find. Just look for This Week in Gaming and make sure to give it a follow. And every week, Monday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, you get a brand new episode. I hope you'll join me.
All right, y'all, we'll be back in like 3 minutes. Vibe out. Listen to some dope music. Thank you so much for hanging with us this week. And vibe out for a few.
Ladies and gentlemen, I found it. I want you to meet the baddest motherfucker in town. Right on. Go ahead.
Who is it? Well, it's Grand Poobah man, stud doogie love. Dropping 2,000. Dig the way this go down. Check it. I hit a flow all dipped in low. Sit back and sip mo as I count my dough. Grand Pooba Maxwell, Doogie, coming with the New York. We keep it real like jail when we might talk. Honeys know cause when I'm in a set, Grand Pooba is the one who makes they stink box wet. So let me tell you something, lady, when your flow is floating, it's all creaming, baby. I made this one for the brothers in the party to find a hearty and dance body to body. Step one, first you grab honey by the waist. Step two, then you move at a ghetto pace. Step three, then you look a dead in the face. Step four, now it's time to lead this place. Hold up, be careful of the cheesers, the teasers, the one who wants the money and the visas. I'ma tell honey straight off the back, but please don't even go there with that. Dig it. This one's designed to make the spine in your back whine. Grand Pooba, nice setup for you every time. And you say New York City. And you say New York City. And you say New York City. And you say, could it be I stayed away too long? Thief MCs be wishing I was gone, because they wanna be where I are, but you can't get that far, so stop wishing on the star. It's only one Grand Prix, so honey, do what you did on the night you creep with me. It's no doubt I come real with that, the butter trap, the one that makes honeys hit the bed mat. I'm energetic, poetic, athletic, with good credit, so just move like I'm Simon and I said it. You see my flow is just a step ahead, I'm still wicked in the bed, because I'm downright nasty like newlyweds. So back up and let me breathe, cause when
Hey, chat, we're about to run it back with some 411. That's some Grand Poobah for all y'all at home. All you cats who are older than 30, you know what the deal be with some Grand Poobah. All right, we're going to get into some 411 and some news of the week. 3, 2, 1. First up on the 411 is this is an Xbox. And you know that this is an Xbox because I just told you it's an Xbox. God damn it. It's an Xbox because I said it was. And then that's the reason why it is. But no. So the most recent campaign for Xbox has been around the This is an Xbox campaign. The kind of gist of it, if you have not seen it, has been basically every device that you can potentially use is an Xbox. It is a thing that you can use to play their games, a thing that you can use to, any device that you own is in that ecosystem in a big way. So this came out a couple of weeks ago, and of course, the internet lost its mind. Social media lost its mind again by trying to make it into some nefarious look at why the space is not really doing well, or why Xbox is not doing well, or why it's behind, or why the Xbox fan base is getting riled up over this thing a couple weeks ago. So in a conversation that happened during one of the earning meetings this week, Microsoft CEO, head of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, came on and had a discussion. And one of the questions that was asked to him was basically, how is the Xbox business doing currently? And I think he had a really interesting perspective, and he shared some thoughts that went viral this week, and again riled up not only the Xbox fan base, but started to evaluate, or at least people started to reevaluate, what does this mean for the future going forward. And I wanted to play a couple of quick clips because I think for me, this is a interesting story only because it continues to showcase why people are getting riled up for no reason. And I think one of the things that I tweeted earlier this week was, man, I really want for the future of conversations around games, entertainment to really be driven more by driven more by subject matter experts as opposed to grifters and just fanboyism, right? I think it's a big thing that we've seen in the space for a long period of time. It continues to drive not only animus across people and give a space for people to make content that isn't honest and content that isn't truthful and content that really is destroying a lot of the goodwill that companies can build, and also building some bad spaces for people to gain an audience when they're not really saying anything that we haven't, one, already heard or already understood, but two, they get a chance to flip this information into ways that are actually delving into misinformation. So I want to play Satya's piece really quick, and then I want to play something that you might remember, and this is why it really comes home that this as a conversation, this as a campaign, isn't different than a lot of the things that we've already heard in the past. So let's play this Satya piece and then talk about the next one.
Just progress on our overall gaming strategy over the last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling very, very good about where we are in gaming. In fact, right now, this is like the peak season.
Exciting times right now.
For gaming. Obviously, with Black Ops and the new Call of Duty, it's just been fantastic to see the launch and the marketing around it, the buzz around it, and the love for gaming. If I think about it, right, we chose the secular growth category in entertainment, which we think is gaming, and said, let's double down on it. And it's been a passion for Microsoft ever since. In fact, I think Flight Simulator launched before Windows or Office even. And so it's like one of the longest franchises in this company. And so we said, let's take that joy of gaming everywhere. And that's why even these ads with Xbox now, where we are redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan, it's about being able to enjoy Xbox on all your devices. So our strategy with Activision content now is in full force. We feel fantastic about the progress we've made. And more importantly, I think on long term, as a company, we can bring the best of AI innovation, cloud innovation, console innovation, PC innovation to build the best games that can be enjoyed by gamers everywhere.
So Satya basically is saying, the redefinition of the Xbox player or the Xbox fan can be seen. This is my interpretation of this. Can be found and can be discussed through this ability to change where games are being played, what platforms those games are being played on. And again, what they're trying to do from a business standpoint is grow the ecosystem. They're continuing to try to figure out good ways to build that conversation out and to give players more things that they have an ability to actually pull into the ecosystem, to where you can go do those things, where you can play those things. Xbox Expansion Pass in the chat says, I love Gears, Halo, and Xbox catalog. Their strategy means I get more of those, adapt or die, and I'm excited. And I agree with that. Like, that's where I am. A lot of the fanboyism that I've gotten thrown at me for many, many years. I said this on Unlocked, on IGN's Unlocked, their Xbox podcast a long time ago, of like, again, as a person who is playing on multiple systems, playing in multiple places, playing on my PC, playing on my console, playing in mobile, this is a wonderful thing for everybody. I think this is a good space for all of it. Fanboys are now mad because this conversation and the ability to latch on to very specific words without capturing the meaning of the sentence is the superpower of a fanboy. The superpower of fanboy is to not understand full things, but latch on to very specific parts and run with the narrative. That is their superpower. And we've seen that conversation continue to grow over the past couple of weeks, and especially after Satya had said this online. I want to go back because things that I've been saying, things that other folks who have been paying attention for a long time have been saying, is that this is an Xbox as a concept is now only the end result of a philosophy that was already implemented and already thought about and already kind of coming into the space from Phil Spencer from years ago. So like all the pieces that we've seen that he has gotten raked over the coals for over the past, 4 to 5 years, and all of these things that have happened, if you haven't been paying attention, are new. But if you have been paying attention, these are small tidbits of information that has always been there. These have been things that have been happening 9 years ago. This messaging is not new. there are new tidbits to it. There are new strategies that go along with it. There are new things that align with that from a business perspective. And we've seen not only with the Blizzard acquisition, but also from the conversation of them buying King and all those other parts to really, build that portfolio bigger and to grow it. All of these things have been happening for a long time and people have just been missing it. Or again, they're not paying attention. We know that the attention span has gotten infinitely longer in the past 10 years, but people are not remembering all of these things. So I'm going to play a clip for you from a 9-year-old conference a presentation from Phil Spencer from GDC 9 years ago. And listen to what he says. And again, the larger conversation in here from what that developer discussion was more about, Windows 10 at the time and how they were building towards making games easier to get onto Windows 10 and to Xbox and all of those things. So there are pieces of it that, if you think about where we are now, they're old, right? They're old talking points. They're there from a long period of time ago. Everything has changed since a decade ago. But if you listen to the clip that I have pulled from that larger discussion, you'll just hear exactly not only what the This Is Xbox campaign is saying, but what Satya is talking about as well. So take a listen to this really quickly.
And mobile remains as strong as ever. As an industry, as people who want to create content that we want millions and millions of people around the globe to love, I think the diversity in the business models that are working so well in our industry right now is a real strength. And definitely as we think about our vision at Microsoft for gaming, we're trying to embrace that. We understand that flexibility for you with the games that you're building, the tools and services that we can bring to bear there is really the key. How do we let you service your customers, stay in touch with your customers, easily get products to your customers as fast as you can? That is critical. Some people know I spent most of my career inside of the Xbox organization running Microsoft Studios, our first-party organization. And definitely, as we've been looking at our Microsoft gaming vision, I've come at it from the lens of somebody who's trying to create content. And trying to create content in today's world where people pick up so many different devices to play games. They want to engage with you as a community, you the creator. They want to know that you have a relationship with the customers who are playing the games. They want to know that their voices are heard. They want to play while they're waiting in line for the bus. They want to play when they're at school. They want to play your games when they're sitting in front of their big TV with their headphones on or whatever they're doing to just be completely immersed and blown away. Or obviously something that's incredibly exciting at this year's E3, the advent of VR. And it seems coming at us from so many different ways, a completely immersive gaming experience, VR and augmented reality. As always, the game industry sits at the forefront of many technological advances. And in the areas of VR and AR, we're doing it again. And it's great to see all the work that these companies are doing in that space. So just in general, I'm very upbeat about this year's GDC. It seems like it's become more about the content reaching those customers. And hopefully with the work that we're doing, we have a role to play there.
So again, we're going back 9 years to a conversation that Phil Spencer and the Xbox team were having and discussing and going through and working and figuring out messaging and discussing all those things with the development community in that one capacity. This is not new. The reason why people keep getting flummoxed by this and keep getting upset by this and not understanding that this has been a part of the Xbox ethos for a very long time continues to just be really confusing to me. I don't understand why people haven't automatically understood this when seeing conversations like that. Again, GDC is for developers. Maybe some people don't pay attention to it in those ways, but it goes back to that conversation around why I think subject matter experts matter in the current media space. Because everyone who has been saying this, me, other people, a lot of other folks, have been saying, why are you all getting mad about this thing when we've already known that this has been the way that they have been trying to work this angle for almost a decade? It's not new. It is a very simple thing to understand. And I'm like, I don't understand what that means. Sharif Jackson says in the chat, not new. People just want to believe it. Yeah, I mean, if you want to elaborate on that, if you mean people want to believe it in terms of the fanboyism layer or the wanting to believe that this is not a new thing. Oh, they didn't want to believe it. Yeah, absolutely. People don't want to believe that this is the way of the new generation of the Xbox console. Excuse me. Or the way that Xbox is delivering games to people. But again, I just sent you a clip. I just showed you a clip from 9 years ago. Literally 9 years ago, a decade ago, folks at Xbox were talking about potentially moving in this kind of direction. And now that it's become true, and now that it's been like 10 toes down on it, and now we have the CEO, the head of Microsoft, parroting and saying the same things, people are freaking out about a thing that they shouldn't really be freaking out about. Again, they're continuing to find ways to build out these ecosystems. They're continuing to find ways to get new games into hands of players in different ways. And people are still like pushing against it and fighting it in a way that doesn't make sense to me. So I just wanted to play that while discussing the larger discussion around like the campaign, the idea of why this is bad for people, which I don't believe. I think it's actually really fantastic for the future of games, and why, to a certain extent, like this is the route that I would hope everybody would figure out a way to take. I don't think this is a bad move from anybody involved. I think the thing that's holding up innovation right now is the fact that people can't and don't want to adopt it. I mean, yes, there are problems with the way it works. I think there are problems with the way a lot of things work, but I think there is an actual benefit here for people who are deciding to be in that ecosystem. And we're seeing a lot of other people in the space adopt small parts of it. And also we're seeing it across each of the biggest platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. We're seeing, and PC, we're seeing across the board, everyone is picking small pieces of their own strategies and incorporating them into a larger one, which means everyone gets to play on the places that they want to play, and everyone gets to enjoy games that they want to enjoy in certain ways. Next story up for our episode of Spawn on Me is Mark Cerny had a really dope presentation the other day. I didn't understand half of it. I understand 90% of it because I am not that smart. I can fully cop to the fact that Mark Cerny is infinitely smarter than I am. But what I did appreciate from, again, another subject matter expert taking time to teach things to people about the way that they are doing things is this is what I hope for the future of games conversation, is we stop letting people who are running the asylum take over a lot of the discussions, making crap tons of content about things that honestly don't really matter. You know, him digging into the differences between, you know, the RDNA chip and everything sparked a whole swath of conversations around teraflops again and around which chipset they should be using and all this other stuff. In reference to a man that built the architecture of the console and telling him basically, oh man, you basically lied to us. This is the conversation I'm seeing in social media. Oh, basically you lied to us about what we were supposed to get. And we have a version of this console that is not doing well in terms of the expectations that you set, but also in the ones that we made. And I think that's weird. Like, anyone who's paid attention to the way the games work and the way the games get made understands that, like, and this is the thing that I talked about on an early episode of Spawn on Me, was that we have an understanding that it's going to take time for developers to actually incorporate their workflows into what this system wants to do. Of course, I think most of those folks are actually trying to spec out towards the PlayStation 6 and less about the PlayStation 5 Pro, but we do see that some developers are having some trouble with it. And some of the games that we're getting patches for aren't really providing the experience that they had asked for, which is, again, a big thing that this console was supposed to address. It was supposed to be the gap bridge between the we're not getting 60 frames per second at 4K, and this console was supposed to be able to do that. We're seeing it, but we're seeing degradation in some games in terms of the graphic fidelity and the performance in the ways that we had hoped. All of that to say, this is a cool thing. I think that if you're a nerd about technology, you should absolutely go check out, and you should go see that thing and go watch the full thing and absorb some of it. The reason I like it is because it reminds me of how dumb I am as a player. And I think all of us as consumers need to understand how stupid we are sometimes when it comes to technology. We are ill-informed about the way technology works. It goes back to the thing of like, yo, you have GPS on your phone at all times. Do you understand how GPS works at its intricate level? Probably not, but you lean on it every day. So like, let's give props to people who are smarter than us and who actually know how things work, as opposed to the first reaction being, let's tell them how they don't understand how it works. It would be nice if we did the opposite and said, as a gaming culture, let's let the smart people who are building the things for us that we enjoy, let them explain those things to us and be inquisitive and curious about those, as opposed to running with narratives that don't really fit what they have said and also give no benefit to the actual audience. It just provides more chaff and more static into a space that you need to kind of get away from. Also, really quickly, going back to the Xbox conversation, there was a great explainer video from Deadly Headley about the Xbox campaign. That person used to be in marketing. It was a fantastic watch. Go look at that. We'll have it in the show notes for the show. Please go make sure you check out that stuff for sure. And word, I think those are the two big news stories for the week. I think those are the kind of two larger discussions that I think are important to really dig into. All of the fanboyism is the fanboyism. It winds up just being noise. I think the reason I kind of dug into these two stories this week is because I am frustrated as a participant in the content creator space and also as a viewer of content to see on my social media feeds nothing but propaganda and misinformation and so much stuff that is just like spit out of people's bodies and minds and hearts without them doing any work to understand that, like, what does this do? Like, what does this actually do for the space? What does this do for the culture? What does this do for the discussions around all the things that we see? And I think Sony, in his infinite wisdom and in his presser, coined the term flopflation, which I think is actually a perfect and fantastic term because it describes so much of the ways that we discuss metrics and the way we discuss video game properties and how we talk about statistics in terms of success. I could take any of those grifter videos and be like, this is all flopflation. Because they are inflating the idea of what is a flop versus what is not a flop without actual information that is pertinent or has enough context to really build out what that case is. So flopflation is fantastic. I think it is a dope word. I want that into the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and I want all of us to use flopflation when seeing these grifter videos and being like, yo, this is some flopflation you putting out here, talking about these Steam numbers all the time without any context to that stuff. So makes no damn sense. Lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about Crimson Desert in our What We've Been Playing segment. So I got a chance to check out Crimson Desert this past week at the Game Awards. It was ridiculously good and stupidly freaking just amazing. So I sat down with the team. They invited me to come over and check out the game behind closed doors. I had about an hour to check it out, an hour to play it. And I had seen some stuff from some other videos out there and was like, I wonder how this plays, because I think a lot of times you get this, everything is kind of digging into the Elden Ring vibes right now. It feels like everything is trying to be a From Software game. And having an hour to play this thing and sit down with it and learn some of the systems and really dig through what they're trying to do from a combat perspective, because that was all we really got a chance to do. My demo was basically like an hour where I got to play against 3 different bosses. Each boss plays a little bit differently, has some different tactics, does some things that are very, very specific and special. And during the initial part of the demo, they kind of like walk you through what do the buttons do, basically. Like, what is the thing you can do here? How can you attack here? What's the differences in the way that this character moves and this way, and this one does something versus another? And it was cool because, one, it blew away my expectations for the game. Like, I had very like narrow focus on what this game was going to wind up being. And the folks from Pearl Abyss were really sweethearts about like letting me play around in the space and like learn and do it. I'm going to showcase the actual gameplay of me playing. It was terrible, actually. I was bad, but I'll show it on social media. I was totally trash at it. And I think the reason was the game is intricate. Like, From Software games are basic in terms of their control scheme, but the beauty of those games is when you get into a boss battle, when you get into a fight, because the fights with the bosses, multi-level, multi stage, different tactics. Of course, you can kind of see when those characters are going to do something if you get the patterns down and you do all that. But I felt like Crimson Desert was doing something way different. You can do a ton of different kinds of attacks with the kit that you have. You can build out and spec out a character that is very different than what someone else is building. Now, mind you, it's not a like custom character that you're building. You are playing as one very specific character who has a story that you're going to play through. But when you're getting through and playing that game, each of the things that you can do is really dope. Like, yes, there are pieces of it where you can, take some of the skills that you've seen in a boss and then adapt those and pull those into your own fight style. But they were like from a base ability. Like, you had ways to charge. You had ways you can grab and throw the characters in bosses. You had ways where you could air jump off the ground and like fight in a different slow-mo mode where you're like using both ranged and melee weapons to be able to balance between how you want to tackle a fight. There are ways to gain health in a fight through your blocks and your parries. Like, all of it is chaotic. And I want to fight like multiple enemies in a space because it does feel very arena based, but those arenas are much bigger. But everything that I played in that game just felt really tight already. It was like, from a graphics perspective, it looked good. From a way that they're building the environments, it looked good. We're hoping to see more of the kind of open world next time we get a chance to check it out and play it. But I came away extremely impressed with Crimson Desert. Like, it was a game that went from, it'll be okay. I'm excited for what it is. The demo stuff that they showed looked cool, to it being one of my most anticipated games of 2025. Like, it has jumped up in that way really, really fast. Like, I love the way that your character talks to the enemies. I love the way that your character like gets crap talked by the bosses. Like, the bosses like give you crap in a real way. Like, they like talk mess to you before they fight you, and like you want to beat their behinds when you go and you fight them. But like, there's a mashup of magic and melee and ranged weapons and like visual effects that come across on the screen that just like make you feel like a badass in a real way. And I'm really excited for what this game is going to wind up doing. Like, Monster Hunter Wilds is going to be a thing that I'm going to check out in a way that's like really exciting. This game feels like it's going to be very special. I feel like there's going to be a lot of those Elden Ring moments when you're going up against bosses and you're finding stuff and you're seeing how different people are playing and tackling fights. That's really going to make this game sing in a lot of different ways. I'm hyped for this. I think it's a thing you should be checking out, putting it on your wish list, making sure you're going to, like give it some love and pay attention to it when more information comes out. And I've been talking to the team about how do we do some more work with them and figure out good ways to incorporate what they're building into how we want to do things here at Spawn on Me. Like, whether that be reviews or other stuff in that space. definitely want to talk to them more about what this game is going to wind up being, because it is really freaking dope. I'm really hyped for this thing. I don't get excited for stuff like that in this way that often anymore, because I've been doing this for so long. But like, this is a game you should be peeping in a real way and checking out for real. So I'm very excited for that game, for real. So we're going to get up out of here for episode 533 of the Spawn on Me podcast. Thank you all again for checking out and hanging out with us this week and every week. We're going to be doing our crowdfunding efforts for Spawnies 4 in the beginning of the year, alongside some new projects that I'm working on. So please make sure you're checking out our social media feeds on Blue Sky. It's Khalif on Blue Sky, if I'm not mistaken. And you can check us out on X still at Khalif Adams, and YouTube and Twitch and Spotify is where you can find the show. Please go subscribe to the show. Please go share it. Please give us some 5-star reviews for all the goodness, so we can keep the lights on and do some more dope stuff in the space. And we have a lot of fun things that I'm working on in 2025 that you'll hopefully enjoy and hopefully vibe out to and hopefully have some fun with. So we're going to get up out of here for this episode. Have a lovely Sunday. This will go up on Monday morning, so you can check it out for your morning commute and get ready to listen to some Spawn on Me in your ears. And until then, we say much love to you all. Wash your hands, wash your butt. Go Knicks. And until then, much love and peace.
See, I've been doing this for years. I'm leaving MCs in tears. Dig it, cause they falling just like the rain. Grand Pooba's too much for the brain. Now gold diggers who try to get it, I left them backwards. They thought they fought it when they shit it, cause Pooba's everything. And everything is poo, cause I hit them with a 1 and then with a 2. Yeah, cause that's just how Grand Poo and Stud Doogie do. You didn't know I was the bomb, baby. Somebody should've told you. Somebody should've told you. Yeah.
Mic check. Drop, hold mics like ponytails tight and bobble ops. Stop, stick around, come through and dig the sound of the fly brown 6060 cycle. Who throws a dick around? Bound to go 3 plat. Came to destroy rap. It's an intricate plot of a b-boy strap. Fem stat cats get kidnapped. Then release a statement to the press. Let